You ask your child to put on their shoes. Nothing. You ask again. Still nothing. You ask a third time, louder now, with that edge in your voice. Maybe they move. Maybe they don't. But one thing is certain. You're exhausted, frustrated, and wondering why your child never listens the first time. And here's the truth that might sting a little. It's not that your child can't hear you. It's that you've accidentally taught them not to listen until you repeat yourself 3, 4, or 5 times. And today I'm going to show you exactly how that happened and how to fix it with a simple 3-step method that works. If you've ever felt like a broken record in your own home, if you've ever raised your voice just to get a response, if you've ever wondered why other parents seem to have kids who listen, while yours seem to tune you out completely, this video is for you. Because the problem isn't your child. The problem is the pattern, and patterns can be changed. I'm going to walk you through the real reason kids ignore instructions, the brain science behind what looks like defiance, but is actually something else entirely, and a proven 3-step method that gets kids listening the first time without yelling, without threats, and without turning every request into a power struggle. This isn't about being stricter. It's about being smarter. It's about understanding how your child's brain works and working with it instead of against it. But before we dive in, let's get one thing straight. Your child is not broken. You are not failing. What's happening in your home is happening in millions of homes because most parents were never taught how attention, compliance, and cooperation actually develop in children. We're winging it based on how we were raised. And a lot of what we inherited doesn't actually work. So let's fix that right now. The first thing you need to understand is why your child doesn't listen the first time. And it's not because they're being disrespectful or trying to make your life harder, even though it feels that way. There are actually 3 main reasons kids don't respond to instructions immediately, and all 3 are rooted in how their brain works. Reason 1, their brain is already occupied. Children, especially young children, have what's called a single-channel attention system. That means they can only focus on one thing at a time. If your child is building with blocks, watching a show, or even just daydreaming, their brain is fully engaged in that activity. When you call out an instruction from across the room, your words are hitting a brain that's not available to process them. It's not defiance, it's neuroscience. Their prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for shifting attention and following multi-step directions, is still developing. It won't be fully mature until their mid-20s, so expecting them to instantly drop what they're doing and respond to your voice is expecting something their brain isn't wired to do yet. Reason 2, you've accidentally trained them to wait for repetition, and this is the big one. Every time you repeat yourself 2, 3, 4 times before you actually enforce the request, you're teaching your child that the first request doesn't matter. You're teaching them that they don't need to listen until your voice changes, until you get loud, until you start counting, until you physically walk over. They've learned the pattern. The first ask is just noise. The second ask is a warning. The third ask is when you're serious. You think you're being patient. You think you're giving them a chance. But what you're actually doing is conditioning them to ignore you. Reason 3, they don't know how to transition yet. Transitions are hard for kids. Stopping one activity and starting another requires executive function, the ability to regulate emotions, shift focus, and manage impulses. And executive function is weak in children. They get absorbed in what they're doing, and the idea of stopping feels overwhelming, even threatening. It's not that they don't want to listen. It's that their brain doesn't know how to smoothly shift gears yet. And when we don't help them with that process, they freeze, resist, or melt down. So if this is resonating, if you're realizing that maybe the problem isn't that your child is difficult, but that you've been working against their brain instead of with it, do me a favor right now. Hit that like button, drop a comment telling me what age your child is and what you struggle with most when it comes to listening, and subscribe to the Parenting Blueprint. We have a membership with 2 exclusive levels that give you early access to videos, deeper dives, and a community of parents learning these exact strategies together. If you're serious about changing the dynamic in your home, that membership is your next step. Now, let's keep going. Now let's talk about how repeating yourself is actually making the problem worse. Because most parents think that if they just ask nicely enough, patiently enough, eventually their child will respond. But what's really happening is you're creating a pattern of learned ignoring. And once that pattern is set, it becomes the default way your child interacts with your instructions. Here's how it works. The first time you ask your child to do something, their brain registers it as optional. Why? Because experience has taught them that nothing happens after the first request. You'll ask again, so they keep playing, keep watching, keep doing whatever they're doing. The second time you ask, it's still optional. Maybe your voice is a little louder, a little more insistent, but there's still no consequence for ignoring it. So they wait. The third time, maybe the fourth, that's when your tone changes. That's when you walk over. That's when you physically intervene. And that's when they finally respond. Not because they decided to cooperate, but because they've learned that this is the point where you actually mean it. What you've done, completely unintentionally, is train your child to wait for escalation. You've taught them that your words don't matter until you're frustrated, until you're standing over them, until your voice is raised. And now you're stuck in a cycle where you have to repeat, nag, and escalate just to get basic cooperation. And it's exhausting for you and confusing for them because they genuinely don't understand why you're upset. From their perspective, they listened. They responded when you got serious. They don't realize that you wanted them to respond the first time because the first time never actually mattered before. This is what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement. When a behavior sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, it actually becomes stronger and harder to change. Your child has learned that ignoring you sometimes works. Sometimes you forget. Sometimes you give up. Sometimes you do it for them. So they keep trying the ignore strategy because it's been reinforced enough times to be worth the gamble. And the more you repeat without following through, the stronger that pattern becomes. Now let's look at the brain science behind what people call selective hearing. Because it's not actually selective. It's how attention works in a developing brain. When your child is focused on something, their brain is in what's called a state of flow or deep engagement. Their prefrontal cortex is managing that task, and switching to a new task requires what neuroscientists call cognitive shifting. That's a complex process that involves disengaging from the current activity, processing the new instruction, inhibiting the desire to continue the current activity, and initiating the new behavior. That's a lot. And for a child whose prefrontal cortex is still under construction, that process is slow and effortful. When you call out an instruction while they're engaged, their brain has to do all of that shifting work. But here's the problem. If the instruction isn't compelling, if there's no immediate follow-through, their brain makes a cost-benefit analysis and decides it's easier to stay in the current activity. It's not conscious, it's automatic. Their brain is choosing the path of least resistance, which is to keep doing what they're already doing. Add to that the fact that children have limited working memory. Working memory is the brain's ability to hold and manipulate information. When you give an instruction from across the room while they're focused on something else, that instruction has to be held in working memory long enough for them to disengage, remember what you said, and then act on it. For many kids, especially younger ones, that instruction gets lost before they even have a chance to act on it. They literally forget what you said in the time it takes them to finish the block tower or reach the end of the TV show. So what looks like ignoring is often actually a combination of divided attention, weak executive function, limited working memory, and learned patterns about when your words actually require action. Your child isn't being defiant. Their brain just isn't equipped yet to respond the way you're expecting them to. And that's actually good news, because it means we can change the approach and get different results. The key is to stop working against their brain and start working with it. And that's where the 3-step method comes in. This method is called Connect, Instruct, Support. And it's designed to meet your child's brain where it is while teaching them to respond the first time. Let me break it down. Step 1 is connect. Before you give any instruction, you have to capture your child's attention. Not just their ears, their actual attention. This means you stop what you're doing, you move close to them, you get down to their eye level, and you say their name. Wait for them to look at you. Wait for eye contact, or at least for them to pause what they're doing. This is the connection moment. You're pulling their brain out of its current task and directing it toward you. Without this step, your instruction is just background noise. Here's what this looks like in practice. Instead of yelling from the kitchen, "Time to get ready for school," you walk into the living room. You crouch down next to your child. You gently touch their shoulder or the toy they're holding. You say their name. Emma. You wait. She looks up. Now you have her attention. Now her brain is ready to receive information. This takes 10 extra seconds, but it saves you 10 minutes of repeating, escalating, and power struggling later. Step 2 is instruct. Now that you have their attention, you give one clear, simple instruction. Not a question, not a negotiation, not a paragraph, one sentence. It's time to put your shoes on. That's it. You don't explain why. You don't ask if they're ready. You don't give them a 5-minute warning unless this is the first time you've ever asked them to do this task. You state what needs to happen, clearly and calmly, and then, and this is critical, you pause. You give them a moment to process. Their brain needs a few seconds to shift gears. Don't fill that silence with more words. Just wait. Step 3 is support. This is where most parents either walk away too soon or take over too quickly. Support means you stay present while they begin to comply, but you don't do it for them. If your child starts putting on their shoes, you stay nearby. You might narrate what they're doing. You're putting on your left shoe. Great. If they hesitate or resist, you offer a choice or a gentle prompt. Do you want to put on the left shoe first or the right shoe? You're guiding them through the task without rescuing them from it. And if they refuse outright, you stay calm and you follow through. I see you're not ready to put your shoes on. I'm going to help you. And you physically guide them through it, not as punishment, but as support. The magic of this method is that it eliminates the gap where ignoring happens. You're not getting instructions from a distance. You're not repeating. You're not hoping they'll eventually respond. You're connecting first, instructing clearly, and supporting the follow-through. There's no space for the old pattern to continue because you've changed the pattern at every point where it used to break down. This method works because it aligns with how the developing brain actually functions. It respects that your child needs help with transitions. It acknowledges that attention has to be captured, not assumed. And it removes the intermittent reinforcement of ignoring by making follow-through immediate and consistent. When you do this consistently for 2 to 3 weeks, something shifts. Your child's brain starts to learn a new pattern. Instructions mean action. The first time you speak is the time that matters, and cooperation becomes the path of least resistance. Now let's talk about what happens when kids resist, melt down, or push back, because they will, especially at first. When you change the pattern, your child's brain notices, and it doesn't like it. There's a phenomenon in behavior psychology called an extinction burst. This is when a behavior that used to work suddenly stops working, and the child escalates that behavior in an attempt to make it work again. So when you stop repeating yourself, when you start following through on the first instruction, your child may initially get louder, more defiant, more emotional. They're testing the new boundary. They're seeing if the old pattern will come back if they just push hard enough. This is the moment where most parents give up. They think, see, it's not working, it's making things worse. But the extinction burst isn't a sign that the method doesn't work. It's a sign that it's working. Your child's brain is realizing the old strategy isn't effective anymore, and it's scrambling to find what will work. If you stay consistent through this phase, the escalation stops, usually within 3 to 5 days. But if you cave, if you go back to repeating or negotiating, you've just taught your child that escalation works. And now the problem is worse than it was before. So how do you handle the meltdown without giving in? You stay calm. You acknowledge their feelings. I know you're upset. It's hard to stop playing. But you don't change the expectation, and it's still time to put on your shoes. You offer support. Do you want me to help you, or can you do it yourself? And if they continue to refuse, you follow through with physical guidance, not as punishment, but as assistance. You're teaching them that the instruction stands, no matter how big the emotion gets. And that's actually incredibly regulating for a child's nervous system. It tells them that you're in control, that the boundary is solid, and that they're safe even when they're upset. After a few days of this, the resistance fades. Your child's brain learns the new pattern. They stop testing because they've learned that testing doesn't change the outcome. And what replaces the resistance is cooperation. Not perfect, instant obedience every single time, but a general pattern of responding when you ask. The first time you ask, because they've learned, that's when it matters. And suddenly your home feels calmer. Transitions are smoother. You're not yelling. You're not repeating. You're just parenting with clarity and consistency. So let's bring this all together with what you need to remember most. Your child not listening the first time isn't about respect. It's not about them being difficult or you being a bad parent. It's about patterns, brain development, and the way you've been approaching instructions. And all of that can change starting today. The 3-step method, connect, instruct, support, works because it addresses every point where the old pattern was breaking down. You're no longer shouting instructions across the room, hoping they'll stick. You're capturing attention first. You're giving clear, calm directions. And you're following through immediately so there's no gap for ignoring to happen. When you do this consistently, your child's brain rewires. They learn that your first request is the one that matters, and cooperation becomes the new default. But here's what I need you to understand. Consistency is everything. You can't use this method sometimes and go back to repeating other times. Your child's brain needs predictability to learn the new pattern. That means every time you give an instruction, you connect first. Every time. You don't yell from the other room because you're in a hurry. You don't repeat 3 times because you're tired. You do the method, even when it's inconvenient, because that's how patterns change. And yes, it will feel like more work at first. Walking over to your child, getting their attention, staying present through follow-through, that takes more energy than yelling from the kitchen. But it only feels like more work for the first 2 weeks. After that, it becomes easier than what you've been doing, because you're not fighting anymore. You're not repeating. You're not escalating. You're just asking once, and it happens. That's the freedom on the other side of this shift. So here's my challenge. For the next 7 days, commit to the connect, instruct, support method every single time you give an instruction. No exceptions. And then come back and tell me what happened. Hit that like button if this made sense to you. Drop a comment and let me know what you're going to try first. And subscribe to the Parenting Blueprint, because we're building a community of parents who refuse to just survive parenthood. We're learning how to actually enjoy it. Share this video with a parent who's stuck in the repeating cycle. They need this method. Their child needs this method. And their sanity definitely needs this method. You've got this. Your child is capable of listening. You're capable of teaching them. Now you have the tools. Go use them.